सदाशिवसमारम्भां व्यासशङ्करमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादशङ्करं लोकशङ्करं समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम् ओम श्री चिन्मय सद्गुरवे नमः. ओम श्री तपोवन शिष्याय नमः. So let us chant the Shanti Patha now of Taittiriya Upanishad, Brahmananda Valli. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. We have started the Brahmananda Valli last week. We have done, I will just chant quickly what we have done. Brahmavida apnoti param tadeshabhyukta satyam jnanam anantam brahma yo vedanhitam guhayam parame vyoman so snute sarvan kamaan saha brahmana vipaschiteti. So it is also shown now, but let me read it again. Om Brahmavida apnoti param tadeshabhyukta satyam jnanamanantam brahma yo vedanhitam guhayam parame vyoman so snute sarvan kamaan saha brahmana vipaschiteti. It's a very famous mantra. It defines God. So, such a famous mantra, obviously, we need to, spend a lot of time so that we really internalize it as much as possible. So, he says, Brahma Vida apnoti param. The knower of Brahman attains supreme. So, Brahma, by definition, is Bruhattamat Brahma. Bruhat means big. Bruhattama means biggest possible. Bruhat, Bruhattara, Bruhattama. Superlative degree. Biggest of all, whatever you can imagine, bigger than that you can say. That is Brahma. This is the definition from the derivation point of view. Etymological definition. Okay. Now, anytime we say big, usually it follows with a namavachakam. Otherwise, big does not have any meaning. For example, in the common language, you say big mosquito, big apple. So, apple has an effect on bigness. Mosquito has an effect on the bigness. So, big mosquito sets a scale of bigness. Mosquitoes. So, in commonly, that is how it is used. But here, Brahma is used without any namavachakam. What it means is, it is the biggest you can imagine, plus more. You got to take it like that. But that's not what Upanishad is going to say. What Upanishad now elaborates it, it's called Brahma Vida apnoti param. That part is called Sutra Vakya of the whole Upanishad. Means a summary statement of the whole Upanishad. Now there is a Vritti Vakya, explains what it is. So that is Tadesha Bhukta Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. The Brahman is Satyam Jnanam Anantam. This is definition of, in Advaita Vedanta, the Brahman. the absolute self or being. Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam, Brahma. So what it means is Satyam, Brahma, Jnanam, Brahma, Anantam, Brahma. These are not typical adjectives. In this world, when we have an adjective, they define this is so and so, not so that you could understand how it differs from others. So if you say blue big lotus, then it separates it from all the non-blue lotuses. Big, when you say it is not a small lotus. Like that, you can separate out and then go and get the only blue big lotus. So it is specific. But in the language of spiritual language of Vedanta, it is not an adjective. Satyam. Satyam means all inclusive, changeless matter, thing. Basically, changeless, ever existent, changeless. So, ever existing, changeless thing is Brahman. But it also Anantam Brahma. So, it is ever existing, changeless, all pervading existence. Now, here a question comes. Most of the people have a problem when you say the word, the moment you say existence, a lot of people have an issue because they do not know what it means. And the moment you get a very good clarity of this noun, existence, your sadhana would go fast. Because all of our knowledge of things is only based upon things which are not infinite. Anantam. But what all we know is has limits. It is here, it is not there. So, Desha Parichinna. Kala Parichinna. It has a birth and death. Before birth, it didn't exist. After death, it is like a pot. Before it was made, it did not exist. After it dissolves, the pot doesn't exist. The clay exists. Then Vastu Paricheda, where pot is, there is no cart. So they are all, but when you say Ananta and Satya, infinite thing, then our mind has a difficulty to comprehend it. So last week I mentioned it is that when all the limits are dropped, what you become. You remain. But that what entity that remains is existence. It is you as a being. From that everything arises. So everything is supported by you. But the mind then gets caught up into what you see or hear, touch and taste, and then you do not remember what you started off with. So again, deep sleep, you are that existence. In samadhi, you are that existence. The pure being as is. Now, Bhagavan Shankaracharya, actually there is a beautiful sloka in Bhagavad Gita which really makes this very beautifully this point. But then that also same, unless you really put your heart and try to understand it, you will not get it. That sloka is chapter 2, 16th verse. What it says, Nasato vidyate bhavaha, nabhavo vidyate sataha, ubhayorapi drustontaha, tanayo tattvadarshibhihi. It is actually, some people say it is one of the most important verses of Bhagavad Gita. It's like heart of Bhagavad Gita. What it is saying is, Nasato vidyate bhavaha. Because Sat means Satyam. So objects are also have existence. I say the pen exists, pot exists, XYZ exists. But Vedanta says, Na asataha vidyate bhavaha. Untruth does not have a true existence because it is born and it dies. And it is changing and is permeated by time and space. So, asataha vidyate bhavaha. So, everything that is changing, you think it exists, but it is actually a temporary phenomena. It is within a changeless substratum. I will first explain this sloka and then I will give you some examples to get this clear. Nabhavo vidyate satah. The truth never ceases to exist. Ubhayorapi drishtantaha. The one who actually understands the swarupa of both of these, that doesn't exist really, versus that always exists. They are the true seers. So this Ananta Sat Padartha is right here, but I am not seeing it. But Vedanta is saying that is the only reality. Everything you see is only temporary because it doesn't have a reality of its own. So I will give you one example. Suppose this is a glass of water, right? So basically the water is in the glass, right? Now if I move the glass, does the water move with it or not? The answer is yes. Because when I move the glass, the water within it also moves. What is the reason for that? Because water is contained in the glass and the container holds what is contained. So our attention is on the water and also on the glass. But there is one more thing here, which our attention is not on it, and we never really program our mind to see that. That is a space. Does the space that envelops the glass, the space that envelops this glass, would that move when I move the glass?
Correct.
It will not.
It
It will not. Why does it not move? Because this is in the space to start with. Our mind was never in it because it is always in the space. Whether it is here, it is in the space. Whether it is here, it is in the space. Space was always there, and then within it, it came. So now, in the same space, I have this mouse. In the same space. But I don't see the space. I see mouse. And of course, I'm not telling you you have to see the space, but the point here I'm trying to make is just like space that is always there, but we do not see. The reason, simply because we do not see, does not mean it is not there. So we never count space as a separate item because we are always taken it for granted. So Upanishad has to make an extra effort. It is like space. Consciousness is, sorry, existence is like space. Everything that is born borrows existence from existence. Just like everything that came into here has borrowed the space to show itself. So everything you see actually have two things in it. Now in the Bhashya for this particular sloka, chapter 2, 16th sloka, Bhagavan Shankaracharya, beautiful commentary he writes, because how difficult it is, the concept he writes. He says, every time you see two things. One that is changeless, and the second one that is changing. He calls it Sad Buddhi and Asad Buddhi. Satta Buddhi, Asatta Buddhi. So when you see a pot, and then when you see a cart or a cat or a mat or a cloth, you call pata. You are only seeing the change. There are two things there. One is changeless, like space. One there is changing. Cart is, pot is changing to cart is. So whenever you see different things, you are always seeing space, and the substitute for space, sat. Because space also comes out of sat. We will see it, in fact, today itself. Atma, next class. So when you withdraw your attention, you actually become that infinite conscious space, because of which everything is witnessed by you in you. Nothing can exist unless you are there first. So you are that existence and consciousness that provides the support in which it appears. So how do you experience? You just be that boundless, thoughtless, pure being. That is existence. That is I as such. So what we are seeing is the object that borrows existence. So Bhagavan Shankaracharya is saying the object that is borrowing changes, but our mind is on the change. What is changeless is like space. In this example, it is space. It is changeless. But our consciousness, sat, satyam is even finer than akasha. So you are in it already. Because you are already in it, you miss it. Just like a fish, it might ask you where is water. You struggle to explain to the fish, but then fish would never be able to grasp it. Only way to explain it is you tell fish, you stop thinking. Then everything is fish, everything is water, you are in it. It is trying to imagine something, it doesn't have to imagine, you are already in there, you are already that, because it is made of water only. Fish also, all the materials from water, it ate and body form. So this is the Shankaracharya's, very briefly I gave that commentary. He also makes one point, which I would just quickly say. There's a lot of very elaborate commentary, but this is basic I covered. But he also says, so Sat, every object has two components, changing and changeless. Changeless is the Sat. Changing is the Asat. Asat borrows existence from Sat. Just like your thoughts borrow existence from your mind. Mind itself borrows its existence from your buddhi. Actually, it will come today. So because of these, because we get caught up in what is the effect, we don't see the cause. You understand? So that's anyway. So Bhagavan Shankaracharya says, what about if without the asat, can I see sat? So he says no. It is a dwara to see this. Just like your mind is a dwara to see you experience yourself. Because it's all pervading, it is objectless presence. It's not an object, it is you. So without a medium, you cannot infer something is existent within existence. So you need a medium. So he basically says whole universe is a medium. As an effect, it rises in consciousness. It's an amazing conclusion. You become that when you withdraw your attention from the material effects. Now, if some of you we have done this before, Chandogya chapter 6 we did. This is where we also spend a lot of time. He says, Sadeva Saumya Idamagra Asit. Hey, dear one, Saumya. Sateva Saumya Idamagra Asit. Sat alone is there in the beginning. Right now, that is alone there. We're just living at a lower level of reality, that's all. Just like pot is living in its own name and form, although it is actually clay. So the whole thing here is made of Brahman. Brahman is a raw material for the whole universe. Just like a dreamed objects, space, time are all in the dreamer's mind. In the same way, in the cosmic consciousness mind, world arises. Cosmic consciousness also includes Sat. That is what is called Sadeva Saumya Idamagra Asit. Technically, if you really pay full attention, your mind has to stop. That is the substratum from which thoughts start. Space starts. Now, more recently, 800 years ago, Bhagavan Shankaracharya, very beautiful sloka. If you really understand this sloka, the whole thing is also in that. He says, Yasyeva spuranam sadatmakam asat kalpardhakam bhasate sakshat tattvamasaiti veda vachasa yo bodhayatyashritahan yat sakshat karanat bhavet na punaravurtir bhavambho nidhau tasmai Sri Guru Murtaye Namaidam Sri Dakshinamurtaye. See, he's saying, Yasyeva Spuranam Sadatmakam Asat Kalpardhakam Bhasaye. That consciousness existence. I will explain consciousness some more, but basically, but you focus on existence. Like space, when the space is available, objects also appear in it. And the way in the space also appears in Sat. So because of the space that Sat creates, Yasyeva Spuranam Sadatmakam Asat Kalpardhakam Bhasaye, what is there that is not really there becomes a reality in it when you supply reality. Spurti means existential reality you provide. You close your eyes, that ceases to exist. You ignore your thoughts, they cease to exist. You ignore your past, it ceases to exist. Then what? You remain. Then you say, no, 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 it become a vacuum, it's a void. No, you are the witness of that also. Withdraw that also. What are you? Then you are infinite. Because there is no space in that even now. So everything arises now. Once you see everything, then everything collapses in it. Arises in it. Just like within space, everything arises and appears. But he says, I mean, in this sloka, sakshat karanat, by realizing you are that sat, free from limitations. Bhavet na punaravrittir bhavam bhonidhau. Then you are not anymore caught up in this changing world. You know, even this is changing. You know this will go. But you now you don't know. Because of that, you live in the past. That happened, that this fellow said this, that fellow said. But all of this was in your mind. None of them are real. You have provided support to it. Now, in the past, I have mentioned few pointers how to own this teaching mentally, at least in the beginning. I will just remind those because it is important to get this in your clarity. When we say Sat or Chit, I will explain Chit means Vijnana some more, but when we hear Sat or Chit, your understanding should be it's not a part of this body, it's not a product of this body, or it's not a product property of this body. It is not. None of them. Our mind is only on this, but when your mind is on this, you miss that. That existence and Chit is independent entity. Just like space is independent entity, into which it came and it went, but space remained. It's an independent entity supporting this. Without that, this doesn't exist. But your mind is on this. But this changes and you go with it. Your mind goes with it. Your past and future comes with it. So it's an independent entity supporting this. So even if this is destroyed, that remains. So even if this water and space remain, consciousness and sat remains. This is why Vedanta is trying to working very hard, trying to tell you you are that pure space-like being. It cannot be recognized as object because it is subject. But as such, pure existence cannot be seen. So while suppose now we are all alive, but now we're trying to understand what is the existence. So Guru is telling you, because you exist, this is a proof there is something behind. A medium is called Upadhi. A Upadhi is a proof there is existence, common existence behind everything. Just like water is a proof, sorry, wave is a proof that there is ocean behind it. So when you withdraw your attention from the waves and the mind, you go to the infinite, your oneness. Right now, our attention is not on that because we delete that part. And then we focus on this because our Guru is now trying to point it out to you. That is there always. So that is see, last week I explained briefly, but this is very important to really get it into your heart, that this is fundamental to Hinduism, dharma, Sanatana dharma, the Sat. For Vedanta Shastra, right now you are Sat. Just like you don't see the space, you start seeing everything that changing is within changeless. It exists even before the body came into existence. It exists even when the body drops. It is not a product of this body or property of this body or part of this body. It is not. That is why when you withdraw your attention from all these, you realize. But our confusion is that all the scientists who miss it because they cannot see it. They only see it as matter. But then mind precedes matter, and then consciousness precedes mind. Now about the Jnana, Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam. So it is, what is Jnanam? It is pure awareness, called intelligence or consciousness. What do you mean by that? You as you are before thoughts took root in you. Thoughts are nothing but consciousness reflected through the vritti of an object. So you're looking at an object and consciousness, you're using it to see it in yourself as separate. But object is only an indicator that there is consciousness behind it because you are seeing it. So object is Sat, supported by Sat, and then consciousness is that which recognizes it. That's like a movie is made of darkness and then and the illumination. Together they make colors. Illumination, all colors, you can say. Darkness is the basic color. Where there is no object. When there is some combination of them, there is some different shapes and stuff. In the same way with consciousness and then Sat, you see the world as flashing in you. But both of them, without the individually identified object matter, you are that support. It's like light. Illumination is its nature. Is it illumining something? And is it? No. If it comes here, the light is meant. If I put my hand, light is illuminating it. So in the consciousness is exactly like this. If you put an object in your mind, that object becomes, it illumines. If you don't put any objects, it is infinite. Akhandakara. So, but illumination or the consciousness is essentially its nature. So I will read some bhashya here because Bhagavan's bhashya is really very powerful. I will explain quickly. Yattu Brahmano Vijnanam Tat Savitru Prakashavat Agni Ustavat Brahma Swarupa Avyatiriktam Swarupam Eva. He's saying that Satyam Jnanam, the Jnanam path, Vijnanam he called, it is just like the light of sun. It has capacity to illumine something, but it's not doing a job of illumination. It is Swarupa. Everything that comes into it, like hand, it shines. Then you don't see light there. In the exact consciousness is all pervading, within which light is also shining. Okay. So tat savitru prakashavat agni usnavat. Just like the heat of the light, heat of the fire. It is always, everything you put in it, you are burning it. But if fire is not burning it, you are burning it. Its fire's nature is that. Its nature is to be hot. Now you make use of that temperature to do something for yourself. But it's not changing to burn it. Same thing light. Its nature is to illumine. Now you use it and then you claim. That's what it is. So Brahma Swarupa Avyaktritam Swarup. So that is the pure nature, pure illumining. I always call being and aware. Its nature. Eva Tatna Karanantara Savyapeksham Nityatma Swarupatva. It is not based upon something else to prove its existence. Even if something is not there, light is there. You know? Nityatma Swarupa Sarva Bhavanam cha Tena Avibhakta Desakalatvat Kala Akashadi Karanatvat Niratasaya Sushmatvat cha Na Tasya Anyat Avidnyayam Sukshmam Vyavahitam Viprakrustam Bhutam Bhavat Bhavishyatva Asti. Consciousness in the past and the present or in the future, it is ever always just light itself. Whether something comes to within it or not, that is our problem. If I use my mind for some other purpose, but forget consciousness, that's still it's consciousness. It's lightening my mind. Means it making it aware. Now he quotes some Upanishad. Apanipado javano gruhita paschat chakshu sasrudotykarnaha saveti vedyancha tadasti veta tamahuragyam purusham mahantam Svetasvareta Upanishad he quoted. That is something which sees without eyes, that which runs without feet, holds without hands. Apanipado javano gruhita Pasyat achakshuhu shrunot akarnaha. Hears without ears. What does it mean? It is illumining whatever comes into the hand, but it is not because of this that exists. Just like heat is there, you use the heat to burn something, but the intention of fire is not to heat this. That is always, even you put the stick in it, still heat is still there. The same in consciousness. All pervading light. Whether you use it, you don't use it, you are that light in consciousness. This is Bhagavan Shankaracharya. Now, this beautiful quotation, Nahi vijñatuhu vijñatehe viparilopo vidyate avinashitvat natu tadvitiyamasti. The Bruhara is very famous quotation. The person who is illumining it does not lose the illumination simply because he is illumining something. The seer, the outsider is thinking like that. But his illumination is there before or after, because that is nature. There is nothing second, because that is always his nature, her nature. Brahmanaha jnana swarupatre api nityatva prasiddhi. So, because his jnana swarupa means he is not conditioned by objects he perceives. He is not perceiving because his action. Whatever is placed in it is getting illumination. That's all. It is swarupa to be to be that. So it is not activity. Atayeva cha na jnanakatru. It is not a doer of something. It is just that its nature is to shine. And anything that comes within it sparks, as though just like electricity spark. Tasmat eva na jnana sabdavachyam api tad brahma tadhapi tad abhas. Shabda pravritti hetu jatyari dharma rahitatvad. It doesn't have any karanas like eyes, ears, and all that. They are using the light of consciousness. But consciousness itself is not dependent upon these equipment that use it. Like electricity is independent. Whether you use it to light a light or heat a heater or run a AC, that is your decision. But electricity itself is independent principle. So all this equipment that we use are using consciousness, but it is independent of all of them. Like that. They evolved to use it. So Yato Vacho Nivartante, he's going to explain that. So basically, this point I wanted to make Bhagavan's language. He's saying before you existed, in the past, current or after you, it is always shining. That's what he said. It's very sukshmam, vyavahitam, viprakushnam, bhutam, bhavat, bhavishyatva asti. Just as I said earlier, consciousness as well as sat. Before the body is born, they are there. So the space is there before this, glass is there. In the same way, consciousness and also sat is there, in which all these things come and go. But it is subtlest because you can't see it. So your mind is only on what is changing. What is changeless, you got to catch. So that's what he is explaining beautifully. Now, Anantam Jnanam, both Sat and Chit, both now are proven Anantam. Before and after, everything appears in them, and then you know it appears. So you have to go back. Medium is required. This serves the medium. That is what Chinmaya Upanishad keeps on it. Chakshusha na pasyati, yena chakshumshi pasyati, tadeva brahmatvam vidhi, nedam yedidam upasate. En manasanu manute, ene varmano matam, tadeva brahmatvam vidhi, nedam yedidam upasate. Consciousness is not that because of which you see something. Sorry. Chakshusha na pasyati, yena chakshumshi pasyati, tadeva brahmatvam vidhi. Chakshusha na pashyati. Consciousness is not a product of eyes as an object. Yena chakshumshi pasyati. Because it is present and helping it, eyes are seeing something else. If the consciousness is withdrawn, as though the body has prana is gone, it's nothing. It's just a upakarana or instrument. That's all it is. Through just like a plug point. Consciousness. But now use it as a dwara to know there is consciousness behind. Chandogya, we saw that. Mam janati, do you recognize me? They ask him, so Padre is dying. Yeah. So they're asking is he conscious or not, but reflected to the mind. Janasimam, that question asked. Chandogya Upanishad. So, so Vritti Jnana is to the mind and to the eyes, to the nose, although the Vritti Jnana. But then there actual Jnana is support behind it. Now, yo vedanhitam guhayam parame vyoman. Here, nihitam guhayam parame vyoman. Now, that sat and chit, I've been talking few frequently that we withdraw our attention, you become that. Withdraw to where? From where they arise. Nihitam guhayam. Where they are first initially, where they are hidden, and then they arise. Bhagavan Shankaracharya, he says this is where the identity, knower, known, knowing through buddhi takes place. That's why buddhi guha they call it. The identity definition starts once in that space you are. That space is all pervading. In that you partly you employ your intellect, and then that much you become real. But that reality also happens within the sat, but you don't see sat. That's why it's parame vyoman. Yo vedanhitam guhayam parame vyoman. Although basically what it is you are already that infinite sun being. Inside you, because of your conditioning, things appear and then they dance. But you forget who you are. So Parame Vyoman is that conscious space in which you rise, your thoughts rise, your identity rises. So all the mental vrittis, physical identities, objects you see, they're all arising in you, but you are not seeing you as the totality. Just like the moment you see space, all of them become objects within it. The moment you see Sat and Chet, everything becomes borrowed reality in it. That's why. So some of you might have read Upadesha Sara. Bhagavan Shankaracharya, Ramana Maharishi says this. So he says, Krustale mana swastata kriya bhakti yoga bodhasya nishchidam. 10th verse, Upadesha Sara. Same thing he's saying. Krustale mana swastata, abidance in the heart. That's all it is. Means you know the source from which your identity as a karta or bhokta or jnata or like that. Karta, bhokta, like that. Whatever is jnata, all of them rising. Swasthata kriya, yoga bodhasya. So your bhakti yoga or ashtanga yoga or jnana yoga, all of them, their goal is to let you know who you are and who you are not. There may be some sequence. You start with Karma Yoga first because you're so preoccupied with the world, you want to gradually detach. With Nishkam Karma, you got to graduate to Nishkam. Then Bhakti, then Ashtanga Yoga, withdrawal, Ekagrata, and all that. Then Bodhas, Sravana, Manana. And verse number, I believe it's 20th verse. I'm not sure. Ahamina Sabha Jahamahantaya Swarati Hrutswayam Paramapurnasat. When this identity of aham, ahami, Bhaja, Ahankara, identity, Bhava. Is that when it collapses, Jahamahantaya, I am there. Spurati Hrutsvayam, Paramapurnasa. That suddenly you wake up into the realization everything is Sat and Chit. It's possible. Ramana Maharshi lived only 100 years ago. Most of Mahatmas are alive even now. It is not something that is not available. It is something available even before you wanted to try. You just never saw yourself. We also did last week. So snute sarvan kamaan saha. Not last week, last Monday. So it's such an important mantra. You have to really reflect upon it, and you have to, from different angles, you have to own the message. What is the Brahmana vipaschiteti? Brahmana vipaschita, those who knows Brahman as through knowledge of self-realization. So snute sarvan kaman saha. He instantly he enjoys all possible desires. Sarvan kaman saha. Bhagavan Bhashya in this context is very powerful, but because of, maybe I will take it, I will start next class with that Bhashya part. But I also want to take some time to explain this. This concept is not new, because what is that? Immediately enjoying everything at the same time? Yes. Because when you become infinite, finite becomes irrelevant. So I guess just a few slokas from Bhagavad Gita will highlight this, because Bhagavad Gita is also teaching the same thing. Krishna said exactly the same thing. But then we don't connect it. Bhagavad Gita is a fantastic guidebook for everything. Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Jnana Yoga. And they are mixed very nicely in different chapters. Chapter 2, 46th verse. यावानर्ध उदपाने सर्वतः सम्प्लुतोदके तावान् सर्वेषु वेदेषु ब्राह्मणस्य विजानतः यावानर्ध उदपाने सर्वतः सम्प्लुतोदके. How much do you really care for the water in the pond when the whole thing is flooded with fresh water, river water? The pond itself was filled from the river, but now everything is flooded with the river water. Then do you care for the water in the pond? In the same way, Tavan Sarveshu Vedeshu Brahmanasya Vijanatha. The once we realize who you are, all the ritualistic accomplishments. I have children, I want money, I want that, I want this, I want this. They lose value because we are flooded with the totality of happiness. So, Sarvan Kamam Saha Brahmana Vipastiteti. So Osnute Sarvan Kamaan Saha. So actually Arjuna asked the question, how does the Sthita Prajna live in this world? Krishna says, chapter 2 only, 55th verse, Prajahati yada kaman sarvan partha manogatan atmanyevatmana tustaha Sthita Prajnastadochyate. This sloka tells the Sthita Prajna or Brahmajnani, a knower of who realized Brahman, he drops all these limited desires because they don't have any effect in him. You are infinite. Prajahat yada kaman sarvan partha manogatan. But what is it that is pulling you towards objects? Your manogatan thoughts, conditioned thought process. But when you drop it, you become sat and chit. All of these have small, even heaven, swarga, and all, they have small borrowed existence from you. So manogata, my mind returns back to its home. So this is explained, in same train of thought. Verse number 70, Apuryamanamachara pratistham samudramapaha pravishanti yadvatu tadvat kamayam pravishanti sarve sashanti mapnoti nakamakami. Just like the rivers come into the ocean, but ocean remains the same level, so also the man of wisdom who realizes self as his all-pervading Sat and Chit. He realizes infinite bliss. Sashantimap, na kamakami, not those who are running after mental preoccupied desires. Same thought, Krishna borrowed it from Taittiriya Upanishad. So, Purnatvam is the characteristic of Brahmana Maharshi also said, Jaham Purat Hrutsvayam Paramapurna Sat. Same thing. As soon as your word Sat, remember this example that it is there first before everything appeared. So he also says, Dukkheshu anidvigna manaha, Sukheshu vegata spruha, Veta raga bhaya krodhaha, Sitathir muni ruchyate. He is also free from bondages. We call muktatvam. Dukkheshu anidvigna manaha. He is free from dukkha. Sukheshu vigata spruha. We get carried away. If some problem comes, we get completely disillusioned about life. Then on the other way, then we forget. He's not. He knows it's just a wave. In you. Vita raga bhaya krodha. Without any Vita raga bhaya. Without any raga means attachments. Bhaya means fear. Krodha means anger. Sthitatihi muniruchyate. This is the example of freedom, muktatvam. Then he also sees equality everywhere because he's always pervading. Yes, sarvatra anabhisneha tattaprapya subhasubham nabhinandati nadvesti tasya prajna pradisthita. Samatvam is there. Samatvam yoga uchyate. That samatvam is like space. Whatever comes in it goes. It's like sunlight. Whatever comes in it illumines. You are that as consciousness and chit. So sometimes, a question will come, what is the difference? Krishna says, beautiful sloka, 69, Yanisha sarva bhutanam tasyam jagati samyami yasyam jagati bhutani sanisha pashyato munehe. 269. The difference between man of self-realization and us, it is like day and night. What we consider as day means worldly objects and worldly pleasures. For him, it is night. He doesn't see that. This is a beautiful sloka. Tasyam jagati samimi. What we don't see is Sat. We don't see Sat. But he sees that and then he becomes identified with it. So whatever you don't see, in that he is awake. Tasyam jagati samyami. Yasyam jagati bhutani sanisha pashyato munehe. Where we are operating with extra energy and extra enthusiasm, and extra, effort and disappointment, he sees life as though it doesn't exist. Sanisha pashyato munehe. Because he's in the conscious Sat and Chit. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.